let me see. Uh, so what we saw in the markets last week was pretty much, I mean, it looked good. It looked like a green light, but the way the actual markets perform was like a yellow light, which is like sideways to me. And then towards the end, oh, it's still not working. Oh, there we go. Finally, it works. And then towards the end on Friday, we basically rallied, and oh my gosh, we basically rallied, and it's like neutral. So we're pretty much where we left off last week. Was basically my conclusion. And I do apologize for like, technical difficulties the first 5 minutes here, but we're good to go now. Okay, perfect. So yeah, we're pretty much back to where we started from last week. But I think there are some key things that if you look under the hood, the markets actually did pretty well, right? Does anyone know what stock is going to all-time highs? It's none other than the one that we've been looking at pretty aggressively, or at least I've been looking at pretty aggressively, which is Facebook right here, right? So Meta all-time highs, right? This one, as soon as my internet loads, there we go. This one's hitting all-time highs. Very fantastic, right? So I think markets overall, conditions still seem pretty good to me. I mean, it's definitely a yellow light. If we pull up the S&P 500 and looked at what happened this week, I think part of it was like the Iran missile news that kind of caused it to blip. But if we count the last 5 days right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we were basically right here. And markets were basically sitting at all-time highs where my mouse is right here. I know it's kind of small. Markets were hitting at all-time highs. Any idea why Meta is so high? It's so high because investors want to bid it up, right? You have active investors, institutional investors bidding the price up. So why is it so high? I mean, again, like stock prices are more so not like if you notice like a lot of people they always ask for like a reason why is this stock up, why is that stock up. There's really no reason most of the time. The only reason is that just a collection of like institutions are choosing to bid it up. So that's really why. Now it could be like, they again, it's really them who move the markets. Like I don't think it's like the smaller people moving the markets so much. I mean, the smaller people might move the markets for like a momentary period like GameStop and stuff like that, but it kind of fizzles out. But the ones that are like persisting and like more, what do you call it? More durable growth or durable price appreciation is really from the institution. So if you ask me any idea why Meta is so high, it's because it's just naturally going to all-time high prices and institutions are clustering around it and bidding the price up. So they wanted to make it higher. It's what the markets want right now, right? It's like, like let's say if you were to make a real estate bid this weekend on a Sunday and you come in there and you just choose to put 500K over, it's because of a choice. It's just you suddenly decide to make the price higher. And so it forces everyone to readjust their views on prices. So that's what I'm saying. Like the in the beginning, I would focus on like the wrong things, which is like, like when you first start off in this, you kind of focus on, I don't know, what your friends say, what the general media says, what the, breaking news headlines say, and all that stuff. And then like over the years, you realize like, all this stuff is just kind of like stupid, in my opinion. And in the end, like you just gravitate towards more of the signal. And for me these days, the signal is just really the price. Because if the price is moving, then like it just suggests that someone knows something or is willing to start bidding higher. And if they're willing to bid the price higher, then I might as well, from a trading perspective, we might as well jump in and participate with that price appreciation. So I think one of the best things to do is just, try our very best not to always look for a reason as to why it goes up. Just accept the fact that what we see, monkey see, monkey do, what we see on the screen. If prices are moving up, then prices wants to move up, right? We can't control that. Like, I mean, we talked about BABA last week, right? And I said BABA could go a lot higher because again, it's not up to me to decide. It's up to like again, one is like yes, there was news of like the central banks of China or stimulus and all that stuff causing China-related stocks to really rally. And so if we count 5 days ago, right? 5 days ago would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would be this candle right here. So last Sunday we were basically right here around the 107 price tag right there. Today it's like $7 higher, so 114. So it's just like it at that, last week you could have said like we could have said, oh, that's too high already. Well, it went up even higher, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like you kind of have to have like not generative AI, but like imagination of like how high the prices could potentially go. And again, at the same time, you want to assess the environment, right? So that's what I primarily try to do these days. So what I try to do these days is I focus on what environment are we in? Is it a swing trading environment? Is it all green light? Is it good to go? And then if it is, then what stocks are moving right now? And can we go and play those stocks? And there's actually quite a bit of stocks that are in play right now, right? So things like, definitely like Alibaba here is definitely moving. It's quick. But you just kind of have to put in that next like stop area, right? Like let's say if you do get in here, you could use the bottom of this previous candle right here as your stop. So that'd be something like right there, right? If it doesn't work out, you just get out right when it goes below, right when it closes officially below, whether it's a intraday or well, I don't know what your risk management, but intraday or um, after market close. Jack says, "Good morning. I am in PDD and APP price action. Yeah, PDD is really good. PDD is basically one of the highlights for me last week in terms of like the ones that I thought would do really well. The other one that's doing really well is also TCOM, right? So this is PDD right here. This one's about to go into not all-time highs, but it's nearing recent all-time highs. So it's about to clear that 165, right? So over 165, this could be a big runner. That's PDD. So I still like this one going into next week, but of course it's stretch, and when it's stretched, you're gonna have more volatility. So I guess like you could anticipate something like that too. But the other one that I really like in terms of like a China play was the one that we talked about last week, TCOM right here, Trip.com. So this one last week was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we were basically at $60 last week, and I said this thing could go higher last week, right? So it cleared the high right here, $60, and then boom, we're at basically close to like $70. It hit like $69. So TCOM also looking very good, right? It's again when it runs, it just runs, and you can't really argue with it. And if you argue with it, then I probably ask why are we arguing with it. And wait, by the way, my screen is shared, right, guys? You guys can see my screen. I'm not seeing the outline box for some reason. Usually there's like a outline box of like you guys could see my screen. Let me just make sure. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Janice. Um, and okay, perfect. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna clear my throat real quick. This coffee's okay. There we go. So yeah, so a lot of China stocks related move. I mean, we had some interesting actions last week, right? So like last week we had the whole missile stuff. I think it really put a blip in the expectations of the market because I definitely issued a green light. I definitely feel a green light. If we move into this week and what I'm thinking, we're basically back to where we started last week, right? Because if you think about it, like 5 days ago, we were like over here, and then now we're just back over here. So the analysis is pretty much the same, and sometimes the markets will give you that, right? But I think one of the key things that of indication for me is that the fact that Facebook, being a market leader, went into all-time highs this week. I think that's actually a very good sign for the marketplace. As long as Facebook could maintain, so one of the things that I've discovered in like my learning journey is that as long as you have a FANG or a major FANG in the marketplace hitting new highs, I think that's indicative or suggestive that markets are going to go higher. So we indeed do have a FANG that's going higher right now, and that's Facebook, right? So Facebook is a $1.5 trillion company. It's not a small entity over here. And the fact that it wants to go higher, I think that's actually pretty healthy for the rest of the marketplace because you have to ask the question, man, my internet's pretty slow today. Still, it's not loading up right here. You have to ask the question like, who is capable of like bidding up? Let me refresh this. Why is it not loading? Who is capable of bidding up Facebook being at 1.5 trillion? Uh, is it really not loading today? My charts are not loading. Could be like a back end issue. Oh, there we go. So yeah, you got to really ask the question, right? If we go down right here, this thing's a 1.5 trillion dollar company, and shares declining. These are all good things to see. Very profitable as well. I mean, this is one of the greatest plays right now. It's only at 10 multiplier. So I definitely think this could go a lot higher, right? If we're talking about how high, man, I mean, sky's the limit, right? When you clear all prior resistance, there is essentially no what do you call it? No overhead supply anymore. So this thing could, it could go pretty high. Let's just see. But yeah, uh, so I personally think this is healthy for the markets. Is it extended? Sure, it could be extended on the monthly chart that you see right here, which basically says that it will always be prone to pullbacks. But until that happens, then I think that's where we really get concerned because it's really monkey see, monkey do, right? Like, this is my philosophy, and I love to confirm it with you guys if you guys believe in this philosophy as well. Basically, like the whole, like the mantra of like monkey see, monkey do, it's actually really powerful because this game is so distributed in a sense that so many different players on the planet are playing. Like, we're just a group of people here in Silicon Valley that meets every Sunday to talk about the stock market. But then there are like large institutions who are like 100 billion or 10 billion or 1 billion, and then other wealthy people all around the world and internationally, they're also playing the stock market. So it's very hard to communicate among each other, right? Because like I might not speak European language or other Asian language or I don't know like Latin American language, et cetera, et cetera. But we need to find a commonality to communicate. And so what I realize is that okay, just like everyone else, we can't see 8.2 billion people in the world, but what we do see is charts. And so the way we read charts, it has to be like very dumbed down, if that kind of makes sense. So my philosophy over time is like, yeah, like the way I'm reading charts, it has to be in a common way that the most common player are reading it the same way. So I really do think it's monkey see, monkey do, and you have to let the charts or the price confirm it, right? So like that's why we really pay attention to some of these moving averages, right? If you read my notes, again, I write a report every week to talk about what I think some of the core stocks in the markets are doing. One of them was Salesforce right here, and maybe I should close out some windows because it's moving kind of slow. I basically noted that if it closes above the 200-day moving average where my arrow is pointing right here, then we basically trigger a play. Low system resources may affect audio. Try closing some applications to improve performance. Okay, so I am, maybe I have too many things open. Let me see if I could double check here, close some things because I'm slowing down a bit. I think I should be good. Okay. Um, hmm. Let me know if you guys are experiencing any lag, but I think it should be okay. I'm just getting like a pop-up here. But anyways, as I was saying right here, like think about it, okay? Like there's so many people playing this game, and they need to interpret it the same way. And and if we're talking about global players who have a lot more money than us, people in Japan and such, et cetera, like we have to again speak a common language here. So I really do think that it pays to pay attention to like whatever incremental price action happens above or below a line. Those are really the trigger points right there. When price is above a certain line or a certain moving average or whatever, it's indication that hey, the trigger has happened and that's when the fund starts to flow in, right? It's you kind of see it over and over, but you have to put in the hours initially to figure out like how stocks move, the behavior of it. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting things going on. So Netflix right here, right? If you think Netflix is too high, it's above 700 right here. It's about to go into all-time highs. I think it's actually one of the fantastic plays that are out there. And geez, my system's really lagging over here. Let me close out some stuff some more. Close out this one. Close out this one. All right, just closing out a little bit more just to speed things up. So this is Netflix right here, right? That's an official close above the green line right there. And if we zoom out, where do we get that green line? That green line was the prior high right here. So again, if you think this is too high right here, let me just show you Facebook. Facebook is the perfect example of like, oh, it hit a high, it's too high. I don't want it. But it's again, the name of the game is like to do the harder things, right? It's always going to be embrace the harder things. That is without a doubt. So we pull up Facebook right here and we go to the monthly right here, it's very similar. Look at this one. Look at this, right? If you said, let me refresh this because I'm gonna annotate. Uh, Come on. There we go. If you look at this right here, right? If you said like, okay, it just hit an all-time high at 400, like that's too high. Like, oh, I can't even go further for some reason. It won't let me. So, if you said 400 right here was so high, but now it's approaching like 600 and it's trying to go higher. Look at Netflix. Very similar, right? It took Netflix about 3 years to recover the 6 months of damage that it took. 6 months of minus 80% damage, and now it's at all-time highs. So I definitely think Netflix could go a lot higher here, right? I definitely think Netflix in this cycle we probably hit like 900, 1,000 possibly. So look at that. It's the same thing right here. See that? If you say Netflix at 700 is too high, well, look at Meta at 400. It's the same. It's the same psychological setup. Well, yeah, you could say psychological setup, but it's the same setup essentially from a chart perspective. But psychologically, it's just as hard, right? So that's really a lot of the times the case, I feel. It's just the people's willingness to do it. Man. The people's willingness to how do you call it? The people's willingness to adjust to higher prices and consider a position. Uh, why is there so much notification here? Okay, so let's keep going on. Going on to the next one. Uh, sorry, I'm getting a little bit distracted here. I guess like notifications are coming in. Okay. Let's start from how about this? We start from the top and then we start going to stocks, or would you guys like to just continue to go into stocks? Because I do have a list that we could look at as well. There's quite a bit that's in play. Very very exciting times. What are you guys feeling today? Do we need a calibration to what's going on at the top, or shall we just dive into stocks and start doing like analysis like we usually do? Because that's the practice that we do every week here, right? If no preference, then maybe I'd probably lean towards stocks actually. I do want to cover S&P 500 a little bit, but not too much. If no comments, why sip on some coffee here real quick. Makes it easier when you guys communicate a little bit, but that's okay. That's okay. Folks don't want to communicate. I know it's Sunday, and I also want to check my systems to make sure things are good to go. Uh, but I think things should be good. You guys can hear me, right? Just double checking. Okay, I see people joining. Just confirming. I feel bad if I'm just gonna, pick a topic and yap away. Double checking here. You guys can hear me, right? Yep. Okay. Perfect. All right. Then I guess I shall just yap away as you guys desire. But any stock that comes up, please let me know. Okay. Let's just do a quick calibration here at the top. S&P 500 this week, we're pretty much back to where we are. A little bit of a blip right there, but I still consider this a green light. So moving into next week, I think things actually look pretty good. If I pull up Nasdaq right here, so you can see that was S&P 500. We're still hanging out at the all-time highs. As long as all-time highs are still there, it's suggesting to me that institutions are still attempting to push prices higher. We look at Nasdaq right here. Nasdaq right here. I mean, again, 5 days ago we were like basically right here around that 487, and then we're basically back to where we started. So not much on the Nasdaq. Now, something that's actually really interesting is actually Dow Jones Industrial Average right here. So if I pull up DIA and show you guys real quick, check this one out. This is actually pretty nice. So despite the selling that we saw, the blip selling that we saw, Dow Jones Industrial Average continued to maintain highs. So we need to understand the behavior of this price action, right? So again, this is like, when it comes to like big data analytics or analytics and all that, you could generate all the data sources, come up with the analytics, but at the end you have to interpret it, right? So what we do in this investment club is sort of like a last mile interpretation of all that stuff. So despite the selling that we saw, Dow Jones Industrial Average is still maintaining this top resistance line, or the TRL as I like to say. You guys see that right there? So that's actually pretty good. That's actually bullish behavior right there. So we found support right on the TRL, and yeah, it's basically hitting it's pointing at all-time highs. So to me, that's healthy, and I'll continue to call it green light because that looks healthy to me. That's Dow Jones. Let's pull up Russell 2000 real quick because we want to check out the small caps, see the behavior of the small caps, see how they're doing. You can see IWM right here. Basically, we're back to where we started. We sold down a bit, as you can see right here. So last week we were around right here. We sold down, bounced on the 50-day moving average on that orange line right there, and then came back up. So we're pretty much back to where we are. I think posture looks even better this week than last week because this week we actually have a confirmation that Facebook is going into new highs. So going back to one of my concepts earlier, what I realized is that as long as we have a single big market leader leading the way, then, excuse me, I think that's actually a good sign, right? So right now it's like, and it might change, right? Before it was FANGs, now we're kind of focusing on the Magnificent Seven. So in that case, as long as one of the Magnificent Sevens, like Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, Apple, Google, or Nvidia, Tesla, right? As one of them hits a new high, I think that's actually pretty healthy, because it takes a lot of money to be able to push a market leader into a new high. So again, that to me says I think it's still a green light. So let's continue to monitor. So with that, what green light opportunities am I looking at this week? Definitely the China opportunity. I think that one continues. I think Penduoduo, as we were discussing, I definitely feel like this one has some legs here, because again, I mean, yeah, we made a big move here, but we just kind of like cleared this recent, overhead supply. I guess you could say this is the resistance point right here. Right, we clear that part. So we zoom out. This is what it looks like. We're about to clear recent highs right here, right? That's a big shot up in 2 weeks right there. So I think this one has legs. I think this one goes to 200. And then we zoom out right here. We're not at all-time highs yet, right? Because once we go to all-time highs, then we truly clear out all the bag holders. Because at that point, in theory, there's no more bag holders. There's only like solidified losers who actually, bought high, sold low, right? Assuming. But this one's actually looking pretty good. TCOM, also one of the ones that we talked about. I think that one looks good. It's moving higher. It already launched, it already moved. So at this point, when you get in, it definitely is going to be harder. But you could zoom out and see like pretty much similar, right? This one might set up like a cup and handle maybe, but it's something to note is like this rounded price action right here. So rounded price action like this typically suggests like, and you can see the volume as well, right? You can see massive volume right here, and then some volume right here recently. So, oh my gosh, full of distractions today. Give me 1 second. I think some cat probably triggered my. Okay, perfect. So rounded bottoms like this. I mean, you might not see it initially without training your eyes, but I like stuff like this because it's showing like activity and willingness to buy. And then recently, this is the monthly chart by the way, where we're going into all-time highs. So this is suggestive that we could potentially go like if you want to do a measure move. Some people like to measure it something like this right here, and then stack it on top, and then basically, this is how high it could potentially go. So from a measure move perspective, it could go as high as like $105, right? Because what we did was we basically measured the distance right here from the breakout point to basically the low right there, and then you stack it on top, and then you basically have that price right there, right? So yeah, that could be a big runner, but it's up to you if you believe it or not. I think it'll be interesting to circle back and double check. Now, on top of like the China names, right, like Pinduoduo, Alibaba, Tcom, there's also other ones like, because like if Tesla starts to move, and then China, if we stack two narratives together, then you might have something like this one right here, right? So this one is like the autonomous vehicle of China. So this one's also running up as well, XPEV, and then also NIO. All right, NIO coming off from like $5 up to $6, $7 right now. So pretty fantastic stuff, I would say. Right. Now we also want to take a look at some of the updates from other stocks that we're looking at, like the aerospace and defense. Those are on the move too. So check out Lockheed Martin here, right? Lockheed Martin was the one I've been talking about for weeks now, where I definitely think it could go a lot higher. Check out where the price is at now. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Man, that is beautiful right there. What do you guys think? Went from 580 to 600. You just have to be a little patient, right? Like the basically we were saying for the last several weeks here because this thing rocketed off higher. We were saying long Lockheed Martin and avoid Boeing. Even though I tried to trade Boeing as well, I got my hand slapped on that one. But Boeing was the one to stay away. So check it out. Basically Lockheed Martin and RTX. Lockheed Martin was a long idea, and then Boeing was a short idea. So look at Boeing now. Boeing actually went lower. So I think we were looking at Boeing around earnings time. So I was actually looking at Boeing here, right? So at this point, I was like, that actually looks kind of good, and I definitely see volume right here, right? And I definitely that suggests to me there's definitely support around this area right here, and it did pop up a little bit, which is good, but then it actually retraced, and then it went actually lower. So then actually that's actually confirmation that it's bad, because it's monkey see, monkey do, right? I see that prices are now attempting to go lower. So I would actually say I feel more comfortable on the short side, avoid, 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 and then look at where we're at right here, right? So that's studying price action, right? Which is studying the behavior of the players in real time and the players in real time who are actually deploying money. Like think about it. Like here, let's just take a step back and think about this lesson for a second, right? Because I thought about it. You could go and listen to your friends who, friends and family or whoever who have massive opinion about the stock market, but then they're not deploying money. Or you could actually just look at the stock market and look at how the money's being deployed, and you don't know these people, but you know big money's being deployed. What's a better resource? Talking to your friends and family who speak emotionally about the stock market, but you know for a fact they're not really participating actively, or we just go zoom into the marketplace right here and we just look at price in real time, and we kind of understand the language of price, right? We can see that it just went down, and really the language of price here is that did it go up or did it go down? Is it above that line, below that line? So that's something that I wish I gravitated sooner because now I feel like I'm more in line with like the language of the markets. And when you speak the language of the markets, then you just basically filter out so much more noise. Like you don't have to listen to so many people at this point. All you listen to is just what did the market say. So what did the market say in this past week, right? Yes, we had our global narratives like the Iran missiles and all that, but the markets basically says neutral, right? We basically we started back where we were last Sunday. But on the plus side, we do have a market leader that made a statement. It's going to new highs. So essentially, the markets are telling me that we have a leader that is going to new highs, and if that leader continues to persist and go to new highs, then I think it could drag other stocks to new highs as well. So that being the case, Oracle right has been pushing up higher. This one's at all-time highs. This one looks fantastic, by the way, right? Because you see buyers coming in and buyers are continuing to hold it up. So this one is like pretty stiff. We zoom out and you can see that Oracle at all-time highs right here. Right, I know, it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. Prices are so high, but this is basically, I mean, it's got that similar setup that I say I like, right? You got that rounded bottomness, right? And then basically, you got that breakout with a retest as well. And you got, a lot of volume right here. Again, this takes time, but you got that breakout, retest right there, and then breakout again, and then higher we go. So very bullish activity. You can see just the players coming in, right? Typically, the big candles are the big players. So if you see big candles, those are big players, which is really nice, I feel, right? Because we could see that like on this day that was a big player. On this day this was a big player that sold off, right? A big player that sold off, but then the markets came back and still held, so it consolidated. That's actually pretty good, right? It's a classic bull flag right there, right? So that looks pretty good. What else? We didn't look at RTX. I do apologize. RTX over here. Lots and lots and lots of stocks. RTX over here, again, also in that same narrative, the whole aerospace and defense narrative, because of like, the ongoing conflicts that we're seeing. Again, I'm also basing it off of like, like if I didn't make any effort to pay attention to the news in the week, like okay, like the way I was thinking about it is like, or ways that we could apply a framework to understanding the news. Let's say you try your absolute best to not hear anything in the news, right? And so if information still gets to you, right, then it's hitting a lot of people. Does that kind of make sense? Like, let's say if you locked yourself away and all you did was you just, hung out on, I don't know, on an island, and you just had like a basic flip phone without internet, and the people that call you, whatever they talk about, right? Like you locked yourself away, you siloed yourself away, but yet that information still came to you from one of your close buddies. Then I think that's a pretty good signal that that news is pretty significant for the week, and it's probably what the weekly narrative or what the people in the world are thinking about currently, right? So I think no matter what, like most of us here, like we probably couldn't avoid that Iran missile news throughout the week. So I definitely think that probably impacted the markets. But now when I think about that, it's like, okay, well, what stocks are likely to benefit from a narrative like that? So I'll look at things like RTX right here, and I definitely see the price action here. I think Boeing is one that's like not feeling it, but you could probably go into the rest of the aerospace and defense segment, and you could come up with quite a bit of ideas on like, okay, what stocks are likely to perform. So yeah, there is a play there, right? So GE Aerospace, that one's looking good too. RTX, as we were looking at, Boeing's the only one that's not performing, which is again, it's interesting in this environment, but that also suggests that when it runs, it could be a run or two, similar to like how Alibaba ran, right? General Dynamics also looking pretty good, but let me pull up. I mean, a lot of these aerospace and defense stocks, they're really putting in the effort to rally here as I'm looking, right? So definitely plays there, right? If you're looking to come to trading ideas for the week. Wow, quite a bit of plays here in the aerospace and defense. But again, let me know if you guys want to double click on that arena. The other ones that are interesting to me, right? Because I'm also following up on these stocks. I feel like that's what it takes. Like we kind of have to like keep following up on the stock and seeing like what's the update in the price action, right? So here's an example of Reddit because I like this one from a large language model play perspective, right? Considering that they have all the I don't know, I guess you could say millennial data or just they're a nice data gravity here in Silicon Valley. So what do you guys see on this? Right? Does this look attractive to anyone here? Maybe a little pop quiz right there. Does anyone like this one? I mean, this one's great for the long run. Yeah, Edward says it looks good. I agree as well, right? And it's great that I think it's really good if we frequently get consensus from each other, right? Which is like asking each other, hey, like, does this look good to you, right? And we can always tell a narrative of like how how far this stock has come along. So what do we notice? So we know that this thing IPO'd here. It did have an IPO pop right there, right? And then later it did pop, and so it established a range right there, right? So that's a range, and that's another range right there. And so the initial range, it eventually closed below this range. So at this point, it was very bearish, right? Below this range right here. But it found its way back up. And so when it found its way back up, we know that this is the range right here. So it's going to be stuck in this range for some time, right? So that's the range right there where I'm drawing that upper line, but we're actually about to clear this range. So clearing this range would suggest we might be in a trending mode, right? So this actually looks pretty good. So yes, I'm in line with Edward because I see that we are attempting to clear this part right here, right? We're sort of above that. Once we really get above these, then now sky's the limit, right? Now we have monkey see, monkey do confirmation from the rest of the markets that, hey, someone is attempting to accumulate positions in Reddit and pushing the price higher. I don't need to rely on, my cousin or my friends or whoever is that's not really paying attention to the markets or not really, pushing in a lot of money into the markets, right? Because what I could figure all that right here. I can see that in the last trading day there was 7.42 million volume that came in just that one day alone. Volume peaked up a little bit right there, right? So this one could be a starter to a move. I definitely like this one. If you're going to play options on it, I probably do longer dated ones. Swing, right? I think leaps are fantastic on this. And the way you could set up your stop loss is probably this line right here. So it could be, I mean, you could use this line right here. If it goes back below this line, then get out, right? So as long as it's above this line, I like it. So then in that case, then the thesis is as long as it's above, you continue to be long. But if it goes low, then get back below, you get out, right? Now at the same time, you want to raise your your stops. So in that case, like if it goes back down, you get out right here, right? So I do like this one. I just think it needs more time, right? Because I think a lot of people, especially my peers, they actually don't know that Reddit is IPO'd already. So interesting stuff. Um, sorry, let me just check something here. Uh, let's see. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. Let me just double check something. Sorry. Making sure everything looks good. Okay, perfect. So that's Reddit right there. Let's look at some of the other stuff like Roblox, right? There's a lot of stocks that might make a comeback because like we're kind of at a spot here with the S&P 500 where it's kind of tricky. Like we're already up quite a bit for the year, and I'm just wondering like how much more can we go? But I can't say like oh it's too high, because when I say it's too high, then I'm expressing my own subjective fears about it, right? It's not about what I think; it's about what's going to happen in the marketplace, like what these guys are actually deploying and what they're doing. So Reddit, not Reddit, Roblox did look good to me, but well, let me before I tell my answer, which I kind of did already. What do you guys see here? Is this good or bad? Right? Again, the more we you give feedback, you learn a lot more. What happened here? You know why is this good or why is this not good? Would you buy it here? Why would you not buy it here? What's the thesis? And I'll start drawing out some hints for you guys. But let me know if you guys have any take on this one, right? Because I was looking at this one, but something happened. It failed to break out the top. Exactly. That's exactly what happened. So what do we see? So some things I do like about this one, right, is not really a rounded top. I mean, I guess you could say like sort of like that's reverse head and shoulders, but I drew it in a funny manner, right? So I mean, this looks pretty good, right, in terms of like support, and you get confirmation of like massive like participation around this range right here, which is great, which suggests that there could be support right here. But Edward's right. We failed to make a new high, which basically says that it wants to go back into the range. So the range would be something like this. So that means like it could be this range or it could be this fuller range right here, right? So it's not ready yet, but it was on my radar. But the breakout didn't occur. So that therefore, remember Bukowski's principles, if what looks like a breakout breaks out, but it doesn't break out, it fails, then it becomes a reverse trade. And the great use case or case study, I'm sorry, that we can use would be CrowdStrike right here, right? CrowdStrike, again, I keep going back to this one, but I just think it's a perfect example, right? Where it was truly at an all-time highs right here, right? Around 380 right there, right? But if it goes the reverse, we need to reverse our perception, right? Right there, it failed right there. See that? So it looked good right here, then it failed, and then it really failed the 50 MA, right? Signal to go short now, right? Short trigger, and then it broke the 100 MA, short trigger again, but then this one just like really like boom, 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 just went very quickly, right? Bad news came in. So, but now it's sort of making a comeback, and in some ways this could look pretty good here too. But I don't want to play this because, just be aware there's overhead supply right here. There's bag holders right here that might want to get out, so you're gonna have a lot of resistance moving up to that point. Um, it is, yep, it is also below the 200-day moving average. Yes, but yes, it's below the 200-day moving average, and it was also quite event driven as well. So this is perfect, right? Because the more you engage in the stock market, you get to see different modalities of a stock. Different modalities meaning like different modes that it's in, right? It could be an event-driven mode. It could be like fundamental accumulation mode. It could be I don't know, new technology mode. It could be ambitious leader mode, which is like Elon Musk, right? Which reminds me, we should also look at Tesla over here. So 200 SMA resistance recently. Yep. So let's look at Tesla real quick. So here's an example. So what do we do in this case right here, right? Because 5 days ago Tesla was actually looking pretty good. It was going for a breakout, but it hit resistance here. So what do you do, right? We have confirmation that this double top, again automatically drawn, that 260 line is acting as resistance. So we kind of have to back off, right? You kind of have to respond to this. We have to back off, but we ended up finding support on the 20-day moving average right there, right? So that could be like something, but I wouldn't want to play that balance. Um, I rather play the upside when it's about to move. But I do think, I like this play still. I mean, it's a little bit damaged, right? But I still like the play. Reason being is that Tesla is categorized in the Magnificent Seven category, and yeah, there's also that robo taxi announcement as well. That could also be a factor. So I definitely like this one. It's just the only thing is that if you're expecting time, like if you're playing timely options, it might, like if you're playing weeklies, it might not hit it in a week. But I still like this one from like a 6 month play, like 6 months and above, like 3 months and above. Three months is like probably my lowest, but 3 and 6 months and above, I think it'll go over 260. But if you're saying next week, oh man, that's kind of hard. Maybe, right? But yeah, because when you do options, you really have to time it, or else you're just like losing a lot of money. Um, but yeah, I definitely like this one from a zooming out perspective, right? If we zoom out and there we go, you see that red line right there, right? Now, the bigger picture wise, we are technically above the red line, and we continue to respect the red line. So the bigger play here, oh man, there you go. The bigger play here, right, is technically we found support on that red line, and that's actually looking really good. So I actually really do like Tesla, and I definitely think this one runs to like 400, 500, especially like the fact that Elon Musk still lingers in everyone's minds because he's pretty good at social media, or the fact that he basically owns partial Twitter or X, and he's also participating in like Trump rallies with a black MAGA hat, right? A black Make America Great hat again. Again, it's like who's actively distributing themselves, who's actively marketing, and I think he's doing a good job marketing. So he's getting into the minds of people, and I definitely think he's getting into the minds of institutions. And so if you get into the minds of institutions, then you get into the basically the mind of their trigger finger where when they deploy capital, right? So, or you're getting into the mind of like when they trigger a decision to deploy capital. So it's kind of interesting, right? Like like after a while, I'm kind of looking beyond like you're like after a while you start thinking you I guess you're able to think about other players, but then like you take it a step further and think about what process do they go through to click a button. Right? So it's like I'm almost like playing a meta game here, right? So like what factors in the markets could impact an institution to click a button to deploy money so that this stock could go in this direction? I think that's something that you start to conclude when you watch markets for a while. Maybe, I don't know. Definitely these are, more advanced techniques that I realize that the pros aren't using, but there's no book on it right now. And I don't think there can be a book on it because it's like at this, well, it's like the I don't want to say PhD end, but it's like the final end of like analytics, right? Because like what we essentially see on the screen right here, it's a chart and it's analytics. Analytics allows us to see insights at scale. And so, but seeing these insights in analytics, it's also open to like very broad range of like interpretation. So yeah, we still have to do the analytical work to figure out, if we're interpreting this all correctly or within consensus boundaries, I would say. Sorry, I sound very confusing, but let's continue. What you guys like Tesla? I actually kind of like Tesla for next week here, right? Because I like that confirmation of a 20 MA bounce right there. Might be a near-term trade. So the near-term trade would be like from here to here, right? We might hit resistance there at the double top, but that might be a near-term trade. And then once we go above that, then there might be a larger trade potential, like a $20 trade right there, right? So monkey see, monkey do. Speaking of Tesla, we could look at the rest of the FANGs as well. So we already looked at Facebook. Let's look at Microsoft, right? Because it's all. I think it's really important or critical to analyze these FANGs because sometimes the FANGs are much more responsive earlier than the FANGs are a portion of the indices, right? So if the FANGs do well, then it indicates what the indices could potentially do. So that's why I think it's a valuable analysis. So looking at Microsoft right here, we see that this one looks kind of nasty, right? Like, would you guys play this one? I mean, it's kind of it leans more on the short side, I would say. So we definitely have a line right here, right? So could be a short trade right there below that line in 200-day moving average. In other words, there could be a short trigger right here, right? That could be a short trigger where this arrow is pointing at right there. But we could also bounce, right? If we bounce here, then we'll probably just bounce to this automatic upper trend line right there. So we'll bounce like somewhere right there. We'll just consolidate around 430. That might be the case. I definitely see with my eyes volume right here, right? So that's suggestive that there's support right here. So if you want to play this volume, right, and it's 200 MA and also this trend line, then it's suggestive that we can definitely bounce right there. But you won't get like a aggressive move, right? You have to see how it responds to 200 MA. Yep. So you have to see how it responds to 200 MA. But what I'm introducing here, Edward, is like, what if we try to front run and forecast? Like like we know institutions respond to the 200 MA, but what I'm suggesting or introducing is like, what if we try to respond first because we have a hunch that it's going to bounce here, right? Because like after the fact when it bounces, then premiums are going to be a little bit higher. So again, if you could also play higher premium to higher premium as well, but just something to consider here, right? But yeah, I mean, I'll probably wait for confirmation. That's much better. But it's not. This is not like a setup that I really want to play anyways, because it could just bounce to this next, bounce here to this trend line again and continue to bounce. But this one needs more time, right? I think Microsoft needs more time. If we zoom out and see where Microsoft is, it's actually looking pretty good. I mean, it's looking good. It's looking good from a monthly perspective, right? We definitely cleared the 350 breakout right here, and now we're just kind of hanging up at a higher level. We should, from what I'm seeing, we should hold support here, right? And I'll show you what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the 10-day moving average right there, SMA 10. From what I'm seeing is that we should hold support here. So I definitely think that 200 MA has to hold. If that 200 MA does not hold, then I'd be a little concerned. But from the looks of it on the monthly, it's definitely holding the 10 MA, which I like that. Um, yeah, so I think from a larger time frame perspective, maybe like 3 months out, it should hold right there. Right? And I'll continue to monitor that. So that's Microsoft right there. Let's go to the next one. Let's look at Amazon, right? Because Amazon's not looking too good. It's just sideways right now. Uh, right? So this is what Amazon looks like. So I hate giving the answers first. I should have just been like, hey, what do you guys see? But that's okay, right? Lots of volume right here, right? So we know in recent, from the months that we have on the screen right here, we know activity has been around here, right? Um, above here, like, is there a trade here? Not really. I mean, sure, but if you take any trade here, I would say, in my opinion, I would try to do longer dated contracts, right? Because it's just like it's not gonna run that much. It's just gonna run like probably to this next resistance point right here, right? Because we gotta think about where it like if you're gonna play here, you want to think about where's the stock likely to stop next or hit a wall. So if it bounces here, it's likely to hit a wall here, right? Until it clears that wall, maybe find support and then starts to move higher. But if you're really gonna play here, again, time your options around how long do you think it'll take to hit this wall right here? But yeah, definitely, give it time. I'd say give this one time. Not too exciting for me right now. Netflix. Netflix is definitely the exciting one. We already talked about Netflix, so I'll probably skip over this one. But Netflix is I'm continuing to watch this one. I think this one looks fantastic because it's basically approaching all-time highs. The only thing is, you got to pay attention with earnings coming up, right? Because earnings could cause it to go any direction. But I'm feeling a little bit, speculative or gambler status over here. I think, maybe a cool trade idea, aggressive one, might be a gap up. Right? It might be a mega gap up. But that's also risky as well, right? So if you're going to gamble, make sure what your gambling trades are. But that could be a big trade coming up. So Netflix, because again, Netflix took 3 years to recover to where it is today, right? It's hard for me to think. I mean, it could gap down too. It could gap down to like 650. That would suck, but that's if you're again in the gambling mode. That's Netflix. Again, not investment advice, right? We're just hanging out in here. Google. Google actually nice recovery as I was watching it earlier this week. Once my charts load up right here. There we go. So Google right here. What do you guys see? I said it's nice, so you kind of have an idea of what I'm thinking already. But what do you guys see? And I could annotate for you so that we practice with our eyes. And I also want to follow up with Arista Networks as well, the one that we talked about for the last 2 weeks and how fundamentally strong it basically was. Um, so lots of volume right there, right? So we know activity-wise, it's like within this range right here. But what I see, if you're curious, is I like this right here, right? Fake out back in. So technically, we are still holding the 200-day moving average. This will happen. Fake outs will happen, and you just kind of have to accept, the imperfection of the markets because in the end, it's like, is it above or below it? And it's above the 200-day moving average. So that's progress right there. Now, it also made progress. It is above the 50-day moving average as well and it still continues to hold right here. The next one that we have to clear is this 170 right here. So if we can get over 170, then that's progress, and that will suggest that we will go into this next range right here. 170, maybe even this one, 171 or 175. We start clearing those, then I think it's a nice move up towards 190. So that's pretty nice. Jack says broke above the downtrend line as well. Yes, 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 yes. That is another one that we totally did not cover. But you could also say it broke this down. Oh, there you go. That downtrend line as well, right? So again, like it it's interesting, right? Because like the way, like if you really think about it, right? Like you might have not seen this downtrend line, but or you might have not seen this 200-day moving average, or you might have not seen this auto trend line right here. But it's almost like we're all kind of playing the same thing, and we're kind of looking for the same signals. If you think about it at the end of the day, right? Because like some people are like, oh, I need it above the 200-day moving average. Some people are like, oh, I need it above this trend line right here. Some people are like, oh, I need it above the 50-day MA. But like at the end of the day, it's almost like we're all looking at the same spot right here, like the heat map wise. From a heat map perspective, like we're all kind of looking at right there. Um, that's actually, speaking of heat maps, I think one of the most powerful things, that's possible would be to have like a heat map of institutional eyes on here. That would be a cool indicator, right? Because the more I think about it, it's I just need to know where their eyes are going, right? And like that's so powerful right there. If you just know, that's a great idea, Morris says. Like think about it. If you just because again, uh, where your eyes are darted on the screen, like some people could be looking over here, some people could be looking over here, some people could be looking over here or over here, right? And if I could just get a heat map of like where they majority of the time look at, right, over here versus like over here or over here, that's like getting into the soul at that point, right? To see into someone's eyes. That technology does exist, but I wouldn't want to disclose that information. Like, I don't think any institution would want to disclose that, right? Because like I think one of the most valuable data sets is like on the planet that's not being captured right now. It's just basically like how everyone uses a computer or phone, right? And like like the phone might not have your eye data, maybe it does, but it definitely has your swipe touch data. Right? If you can get that, man, that's actually pretty powerful too. Like, what are you zooming in on? What are you liking or bookmarking or whatever, right? Um, Man, that's actually really powerful data. But it's very private data too. That's why it's people who are listening to this, right? Like without the eyes, like it's like that's more than 50% of the value. I feel the eyes are like really powerful, right? In order to see. Anyways, so this is Google right here. Let's go on to the next one, right? We're just kind of making our way down the fangs. AMD and Nvidia. Let's look at Nvidia. Can't forget about those two, right? Because these are still, I mean, it's still to me, I still feel like it's a green light. So what do we see on Nvidia, guys? What do we see on NVIDIA? SK says, you need catching up, Kay. Eye tracking has been since last 10 years and it is being used. Yeah, in that case, I need advanced AI eye tracking where I put on a set of glasses and I go out there and whoever I look at, I can see, it'll read their eyes and I can see what they're looking at. Jack says wedge forming. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's definitely a wedge right here, right? A beautiful symmetrical triangle. We could go and consult Bukowski as well. Um, this is a great setup right here, right? Would you guys play this setup? Right? This is nice. We know that there's support down here with this volume right here. So and it was retested right there. So we almost could like for me it's like I just ignore this now, right? Because I'm just focusing on right now. So none of this matters right here, right? Like I think if you're new to it, you probably think like, oh, it could fall down into like that, that area right there. But I just ignore all that. What I'm actually looking at, if we're talking about tracking of the eyes, is first I kind of look over here and I see like, this is sort of like that midpoint right here. And I like that it's above that midpoint because it has a tendency to explode away from that liquidity pool. Now, at the same time, what was it Jack? Yeah, what Jack says is like it's got a wedge setup right here, right? It's kind of wedging right here. Again, I'm ignoring all this part right here, right? But usually it's like it's just left like this, so then you're kind of scared, right? But what if you just kind of know that you don't have to worry about that segment? Now you do have to worry actually if it actually goes down there, but it's not down there yet. So for the time being, we don't need to worry about it. But this is nice because it's basically saying it could go either direction, right? It could still very much go this way below the 50-day moving average, but it's also I think with the market leader like Facebook, it's suggested that it's going to go that way. So I definitely like this one here. The breakout hasn't occurred yet, but above above some of these highs right here would be pretty good. Above 130 would be like for sure global consensus confirmation. Like think about it, like if it hits 130, I'm pretty sure everyone sees this wedge trend line right there, right? That top trend line. If it hits 130, that's pretty much like almost the most basic person in the world could see like it broke out above that line. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to make it ultra complicated. Just like, oh, that's clear confirmation that it's above that price, and there's a chance that this stock might start running. Um, SK says it was originally planned for targeted ads for who is paying more attention when watching TV, but is now being planned for watching employees if they are paying attention in a Zoom or video meeting. LOL. LOL indeed. That's wild, man. That's wild. Like that's just too much. Like like that's just like hooking people into like the Matrix now. Like like their eyes give away to like if they're paying attention or not. Jack says sentiment is also positive with the Mag 7. Yeah. Sentiment is also positive. I mean, it's still positive. So we go in here. This is again the $8,000 tool that I bring to you guys right here. We can see that we got a long trigger over here, right? This is again, real quick for context. What I have right here is Facebook or Microsoft, Apple, the FANGs basically, right? I inputted the FANGs in here, and then collectively this $8,000 indicator, it basically shows us what these the algorithms of the grandmasters and how they would trade, right? Because I have several different models in here. But essentially, we got a long trigger right here around that price tag of what was that? Well, okay, this is not. It's not an accurate price tag because this is like the collective price value. So you got like a 2,000 price tag. But basically, we got a long signal across the fangs right here, right? And then teal basically means like strong momentum. But then we actually started to slow down, right? Once it goes to like this darker blue or whatever color you want to call that, it starts to slow down a bit. But it's still technically a green light, so we're just waiting. So yes, sentiment is still positive on the fangs from what I could see right here. You could also leverage another proxy, right? You could build your own proxy, which I did, or you could use an ETN proxy right here. And you can see that this one's also looking pretty good. This one's a triple leverage ETN right here, and you can see also confirmation that it is above that auto trend line. I did not draw this trend line right here, but you can see that it's above right there, right? So a little bit of start to confirmation of higher prices to come. So let's take a look. That's actually progress, right? I consider that progress. Even though it's just like one little candle above a line, that's progress, right? If you want to get like granular with the stuff. So Fang's looking okay. I shouldn't say looks. I'm pretty sure that blip right there was thanks to Facebook, right? Facebook pushing to new highs. What we need to see now is Facebook continues to go, stay in market leader status. It continues to be the leader, price leading the way. Because if it stops leading, that's also very dangerous, right? If the leader stops leading, then it's actually the reverse. Then we actually have to get pretty bearish. But for now, what I see on the screen as we speak right now, objectively, is that it's moving higher. So therefore, I will try to communicate objectively that it's moving higher. That's the practice. ASA tangent. ASA tangent. Wait, hold on. I gotta read this. Futu may be good China stock to look at. They are like the Robin Hood of China. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at Futu Holdings ADR. Let's see what you're looking at here. So first of all, I like to check the market cap to see. Okay, this is good, 11 billion, and they have about a billion in sales. Price of sales 8. No, very low debt and strong earnings as well. This is actually looking pretty good. Fundamentally wise, I mean, from what I'm seeing right here, like just a snapshot of it, I kind of like it so far. Sales growth wise, past let's do quarter. So it's growing about 20%, 26%, quarter over quarter. So this is pretty good. Do I like it? I mean, it's extended, which is fine. I mean, all China names are extended right now, which means that it will eventually, it's prone to corrections, just something to be mindful of. But can it go higher? Absolutely, yes. Seeing this last close right here, close a pretty strong candle right there, it could definitely go higher. But it's stretch. So in these cases, if you really want to play something to stretch, my opinion or my take is start to zoom in to like the 30-minute, right? Start zooming into the 30-minute here and start playing the 30-minute charts or the 1 hour charts. Um, and then just like be strict on like, all right, where are you going to get out? You have to have a really tight one here because it's extended, right? But we basically, I mean, I think the trick is just to get more granular to protect ourselves, right? And say like, all right, this is the trend line that has to hold right here. If it breaks that trend line right there, I'm just not going to play this because I know it's already very well extended, right? So that trend line has to hold as it's been holding these past several sessions right here. That trend line is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Well, let me see. Technically, that's also holding there too. So you could say this trend line has been holding since 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 session trend line, right? So if you really want to chase it, which is fine too, but just know that you're playing something pretty granular here, right? And just know that what the daily chart looks like, it's stretch, but sometimes you just gotta zoom in to see the immediate actions, like down to like the 5 minute right here, to see what's going on and if it's a continued play or not. It's tough. It's tough, but you need more. I think I think for me, I need to develop more instincts to really play like the really really shorter time frame, because being lazy is also a a thing in the markets too that could happen. But yeah, Jack says I didn't get into it since there are less risky plays. Yeah, there are less risky plays, but sometimes like believe it or not, Jack, like let me ask this educationally provoking question right here, right? You didn't get into it because you say there are less risky plays, but like a play like this is actually very rewarding because it's like those less risky plays. It's less risky because there's no activity on it. But then like one would probably see this as like, oh, this is like a really rewarding play because the party's coming in. Like there's actually a party right here, right? So some could say that's actually not risky. Like that's opportunity. But I guess it comes down to how you see it, right? Like some people might say like, oh, this is too risky, but like you're not going to get another time where you're going to get this many players coming in with this amount of volume right here, and they say I want to play something less risky. Let's say something like GE, right? Sure, but it's not really going to move like fast. So yes, risky, but you get the momentum volume that you need for prices to really move, and that's when. And if you understand that dynamic because you look at enough stocks, then now you know like how to play these next time, right? So it definitely takes like several cycles of like different experience exposure to different stock modalities to truly understand like how different stocks move and how you could capitalize on it individually. So yeah, so that's why I love this game. I love coming back every week because what do we know about the stock right here? Because again, this is yet another example of like how I could learn or we all could learn, right? One is I know it's a China related stock. I know fundamentals are pretty good, right? I know that what you said that it's like the Robin Hood, is it? Let me go back up. The Robin Hood of China, right? Like there's themes to it. Macro China looks pretty good. So I'm trying to digest this environment, understand what caused the stock to move, because I know that future plays, uh, these are things that I want to anticipate and be better at anticipating. Because the quicker I could react, then I probably would have just jumped in here, right? Like let's say if I knew this was happening right here at 75 right here, instead of saying, oh, 75 is too high, I would have been like, all right, I'm gonna jump in there, I'm gonna buy a bunch of like $90 call options for $10 each, $10 or 10 cents, but $10, right? And I just buy a bunch, and then kabam, it's just like dang, like that was like the quickest like $5,000 into like $500,000 ever. Right, but that takes guts, right? That's you got to train for that. It doesn't happen like that, but it can happen like that. I'm telling you. Um, and this stuff happens over and over and over again. So that's why I truly believe in like just keep putting in the hours and into the markets because the way it works is like it's like the Olympics, right? Or whatever training. Like you train so hard for years and years and years, and then that one moment when the stars align and you just know for a fact, like I've seen that before. I've seen this type of news before, this caliber of news, this market moving news. I've seen that volume before. I've seen, these players or the news media talk about this before, and you just slam it hard and then like that could be like that one trade that changes your life, right? So I believe that like this trade, this Futu trade right here could like change like a person's life, one could say. Um, Let me see. Give me 1 second. Let me pull up some of the option stuff right here. Let me see where my options chain is at. Give me 1 second. So let me pop this out. There we go. And then I don't think Futu has much. Let me see. Go down. I should have. Yep, there's options on it. Let's see. What's today? What's the price right now? Let's do some deep in the money stuff. Let's see. Price wise. Give me 1 second here, guys. Um, Let me see something with high open interest. Let me copy this real quick. Oh, give me one more second. So I'm on a different screen here. Let me just uh, open this up, detach this, remove all my studies. Where's the detach? Ah, there it is. This is a little bit slow. Studies. Give me 1 second. Remove all studies. Yes. Check this out. There we go. Enter. Shoot. Oh man. Uh, you guys like what you're seeing? Let's do uh, sure. You guys like what you're seeing, right? You guys know what you're seeing? So this is an options contract, right? For FUTU or FUTU, and it went from $2, which is basically $232 a contract, to $4,000 a contract. $40. That's $4,000 a contract in a period of how many days is this? Friday, Monday to Friday. So a week, right? 10 to, yeah, about a week. What do you guys think? Wow, right? Yeah, yeah, wow. Um, Crazy, right? That's what I'm saying. Like this is where it's at, man. Like derivatives market for the win. But you gotta be gutsy to play like this because you could have lost all that too. But I think like okay, like let's think about risk reward for a second. Um, when we're yeah, like let's think about risk reward for a second. Like, is it risky if the payout is like I don't know a million X? Like, is it risky? Then you would take all the risks, right? Because like but then like what's the probability of that million X? I don't know. It's definitely like throw money away until one hits and then boom, kabam, right? But you want to increase your probability of hitting that. Yes, it's just like one like angel investing where all you need is 1 out of 10. Yeah, exactly, right? Like Jason Calacanis, he had one angel investment, 25K becomes 114 million. Right? So it could definitely happen in the stock market too, but like you have to. I don't know. I personally think you just got to be there to study the data. Uh, because like how do you capture like how would you know, right? How would you know that it's at 65 right here or even at 75? How would you have known that it would go from 75 to 127, right? Yeah, like trend break, yeah, but there's also it could fail too. We just don't know, right? It could go the other way. Like, how would one have known? But it's doable. I definitely believe it's doable, but that's because I have a different experiential data set in my mind from putting in the work every Sunday here. Right? I know it's doable because I've seen this enough to like to say, holy crap, like this happens over and over and over again. So we just have to bask in the let's do Baba because I think Baba is much more exciting. So let's do Baba. I'll pull up the options chain on Baba. Let's pull up I'll show you a crazy chart. This is fun to me, by the way. So 85, right? Let's look at some 85s. Let's look at this one right here. Let's see if this one was any lower. So let's pull up this one. So here's another one. But this one was higher. This one was like $1,000 contract. Uh, but let me actually pull up something. Here, let me pull up a different one. Uh, okay, this one should be fun. What's the strikes? Hold on, let me look at the strikes. All right, let me show you this one. This one might be more fun. Might be more fun to think about. Okay. Okay, not bad, not bad. This one was $500 a contract to $3,000. All right, but hold on. Let me do one more. Give me a chance here. Let me. This one's pretty. What's that? Let me try this one. Let's see. Okay, maybe not. This one's too high. I know there's some outrageous ones out there. I just gotta find it for you guys. Like outrageous where it's like 10 cents to like $1,000 or whatever. Like this one right here. Here, this one's pretty crazy. What do you guys think of this one? Evan, you see that? Like the low over here. This was on 9/23. $5 a contract. $5. A cup of Starbucks to basically $900 or $950. $5 to $950. You guys like that? I like that. I don't know about you guys. I like that. Isn't that fantastic? Oh my gosh. Um, Dreams do come true. Like no joke. But this is not like it's not like a easy sleep game because you probably would have got here and you probably would have sold right here, right? Yeah, this is on Baba. So these are Baba 110 calls. So Baba right now is at 110, as you see right here. It literally hit the money, right? So before that, it was just $5 a contract, five like a cup of coffee, right? You probably would have went in here, you'd be like, oh, I'm gonna buy 100 cup of coffees, right? Uh, yeah. So $5 turning into $950. And if I show this stuff, you guys probably say I'm a scammer, but I turn around and say, screw you, it's not a scam. This is actually really what happened. I'm not scamming anyone. This is legitimately what happened in the marketplace right here, right? V says if you put in what you are willing to lose, the risk is definitely acceptable. Edward says I'm a billionaire with all the back testing. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. That's front testing. Front execution is way harder than back testing. Anyone could be a trillionaire back testing, right? But um, when the news says black swans are rare, I mean, shoot, like this happened like last week. It wasn't really that rare. Like it happens all the time actually in the options world. I would argue that the options world is like Black Swan Lake. And I don't know if Edward got that one, Black Swan Lake, right? Where it's actually not long tail. This is actually like middle bell curve in the options market. Like this happens all the time. Uh, yeah, but this requires a lot more like $5. Come on, $1,000 right there. That's wild. But yeah, it gets me excited. It gets me to come back all the time, guys. Jack says for Baba 120 call, 65 and 370 now. Yep. So I typically when I play options, I mostly buy the $100 contracts. I actually don't play like ghetto style. I mean, I could. I'll play $50 sometimes, but I usually play like $100 contracts. And I'll $100 you can buy like 10, 20 of them, whatever. That's like $2,000 that you're gonna throw away, right? Yeah, my options game is not super great yet. Evan says. Well, it's practice and like like guys, I genuinely believe like whether you do this analytical work with me here for 2 hours on Sunday or by yourself, the expectation is that we all have to do it. You get what I'm saying? Like we all have to do this analytical work on our own regardless. So I'm like I might as well just be accountable and just do it every Sunday with you guys here, and we could learn a lot. And that's that right there. But lots of money to be made. Um, uh, V says we are taught to be so damn conservative, and it is about taking educated risks and putting your bets on the best horses. Professional gambling. Yeah, I think so too. Like the more engaged in this game I become, it's just like I know like how some guys like David Tepper like we go in here we look at David Tepper, right? Which man, that guy made a killing on basically trying to relate to stocks. As you guys know, this guy had his biggest position was Alibaba, and I wouldn't be surprised if he had calls on it too. What there was David Tepper, but there was another one, Steve Cohen, the other hedge fund manager. Those guys, pretty sure they're like big options players. Let me see. All right. So look at this. This guy's biggest position right here was Alibaba, 12% of his portfolio. He's happy. He's very happy. Year to date wise, is already up 50%. Right? Year to date performance 49% right now. In the last 3 months, it was up 51%. Biggest position, big bet that paid off. So yeah, incredible game, right? You guys excited? I'm excited. I got myself a little pumped right now. Let's continue. Let's continue. Look at all the other plays potential. Because I definitely feel like I'm getting closer to nailing one of these moves right here. Because I guess like you nail one move, it's fantastic, right? Like you feel really good. Let's see, app. Let's take a look at that. If you guys have stocks, oh yeah, app loving, yeah. This one was a pretty big move, and let's see. Look at that. It just continues to move, right? We could go in here. We could also look in the options chain. This one probably you have to go back like 30 days, but let's see. Let me see what I got. What's the price right now? It's 139. So we go in here. Wait. Oh, I put oh, a PP, not a AP. I put AAP on accident. Let's look at some of these. Let's see. Man, these contracts. It's currently at 139. Um, let's see, 2000. Let's take a look at this. I'd be curious to know. Give me 1 second. Uh, pull this over. Here we go. So also, oh, there we go. Okay, now I mean not 16. This is a double, right? Double double. Trying to find something more. The more extreme ones are, I know it happens. I think the most beautiful one was that $5 to $1,000 one. But yeah, a move like this could happen too, right? It's just like how would you have known that this was the case? Let's zoom out. Let's try to study this one, right? So look at where it happened. That move happened like right here. Let's go back. Hold on. What price did this thing shot off at? It basically shot off at $90, right? So $90. Where's $90? Yeah. Okay, basically down here. It went way too fast. Let's do the weekly. That was the monthly. So $90. So 100 basically, but 100, yeah, see like it just went really fast, like super duper fast. Very fast, man. But yeah, I mean, the markets were rushing in to buy this one, right? And I love analyzing that. It makes me feel good. Makes me feel good because like I want to catch some of these. Like this is the horse to catch right here. This is the horse to bet on. And we kind of knew it too, but like, jeez, like it's just like, shoo. Okay. Other stocks that we have. So, Instacart might be an interesting one. Instacart hasn't ran yet, right? This might be one of those like potential plays that are coming up right here. So we look at Instacart right here. We zoom out, like, look, this one had an IPO right here, right? So we know that this is the IPO range right here, right? And then we know that this is the bottom range right here, right? And we know as of late it's basically been cruising up right here. So that's pretty good, right? It's recovering. Initial IPO sell-off, which is pretty expected. Again, this is the monthly chart, by the way. Then we go to the daily, right? Oh, I gotta fix my chart. Then we go to the daily, and this is what it looks like right here, right? It's definitely moved. We're not above that yet. You see how it hit prior resistance right there? I know you can't see because the stuff is blocking it, but it's basically right there. Oh, geez, wrong one. This one right here is basically, I can't see it either myself. It's probably right there to right here. So it kind of hit resistance there, but that's like the resistance right there. And then we also saw a massive volume right here, right? Which makes sense because someone was buying right here, right? Institution came in and had to hold up this area right here, right? And then now it's like, attempting to go higher. So this one could be a runner, right? Now, how much does it run? Nobody knows. Because once it goes to all-time highs, there's theoretically no more overhead supply. It could run like crazy. Now, the other scenario is always hard, right? It could come up and then come back down, and you could also see that. So yes, like be the whole learning aspect here is to be flexible that the stock could go either way, right? But what you're trying to do is to capture with probability of like what way it can go, and sometimes that takes a lot of work. It takes work to get to that stage, I feel, but lots of plays out there. Um, what else? What else? What else? I wanted to follow up on Arista Networks right here, right? Because this one, again, fundamentally strong, and let's circle back to where we were with it, right? Look at this. What do you guys think of this one? It continues to perform. So 2 or 3 weeks ago, we did a very deep analysis on this one because it started to move. And we came to conclusion that this one is like just loaded with balance sheet value, right? Like the everything about it, like no debt, the multiple. I mean, multiple is kind of high, but that's okay. That doesn't matter. But profitability wise, like sales and earnings and shares outstanding, everything about this company was like just rock on, like solid. And the other part is like what they do is they focus on selling networks to data centers, and we know data centers are going to be hot because of larger narratives like generative AI and stuff like that, right? AI is a big thing, autonomous vehicle, or large language models like Facebook's Meta Llama 3.2 now, right? That stuff is going to need massive data centers to hold it all up, and so a company like Arista Network is like the network side of like NVIDIA selling GPUs to the data centers like AWS, Azure, GCP. Arista Network selling the network side to the data centers like AWS, Azure, and GCP. Microsoft Azure, for those of you who don't know, or GCP is Google Cloud Platform. It's just more efficient to say GCP than Google Cloud Platform every time, or Google Cloud, right? So yeah, like this one's just capturing a lot of money, um, and this one was also hitting all-time highs, right? Ooh, man, scary, but you got to learn. Like you got to learn what good looks like, and this is actually what good looks like. What bad looks like is what everybody initially wants. What bad looks like is the one that comes to mind is Ring Central, right? We talk about this like almost every week. I apologize, but you got to understand what bad looks like. This is what bad looks like right here, right? It's really I really believe it's monkey see, monkey do. This looks very bad, and so because it looks bad, it's going to continue to look bad, right? Because like my expectation is that if this looks bad to me, then does it look bad to the average person out there, right? And if it looks bad, right, they're gonna feel a certain way about it, and they're gonna be like, oh, I gotta like, I gotta buy more because it's gonna go in my favor. That could be a scenario, but what I see is just an institutions continue to sell out. Um, Meanwhile, the numbers are, yeah, I mean, I don't want to play this one. That one looks pretty bad. There's also MSTR. Let's look at coin first, right? Because again, I mean, I'm waiting for this crypto hype to make a comeback. We haven't had a crypto hype in a while. I'm getting a little bored over here, but I don't control that. Let me ask you guys, what does this look like? What would you guys do here? Anybody here? What do you guys see? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it something to play, or is it something not to play, something to avoid? If not, I will give you the answer in terms of what I think. Uh, Almost a megaphone shape. Yep, megaphones are typically not good, right? Uh, so megaphones, you definitely got that, right? It's basically it's a broadening wedge, right? So in other words, like this is a megaphone, and as it broadens, right, it's the trading range is increasing. It's not necessarily tightening, right? And the question is like, why is the trading range increasing? That's essentially bearish. So I lean more bearish on this one, and we can see like the volume is like kind of all over the place. Like the volumes that, like that, like that, right? So it's not really a good accurate it's not really accurate right now. I would say. What I do see is that it is below 200, which is the 200-day moving average, right? When in doubt, always fall back to the moving averages because I think the moving averages are really powerful. But generally speaking, this doesn't look too good to me, right? There's a near-term resistance point right here with that trend line, which suggests that it could come up, but it'll continue to go down, or hit its head there, right, until it finds like the next support area. But there's nothing here. But what if I show you a counterpart, MSTR? What do you guys see here? Different case studies, right? As students, we have to look at different case studies. What do you guys see here now? Is there a megaphone, or is it something? It's the opposite of a megaphone, right? You guys see it? Hopefully, you guys see it. So let's draw, right? We're understanding the different, chart patterns that exist out there, and what type of information it means for the marketplace. So what do you guys see here? See a top trend line or resistance line right there, right? You also see there's another one right here that's automatically drawn. We also see this, right? Sort of like opposite of a microphone, right? When you see a micro, it's almost like the opposite. The microphone is this is the bearish one. This one's the bullish one, right? Because it's like prices is tightening essentially. Yeah, a symmetrical triangle, tightening wedge, right? Well, not really rising wedge. It's a ascending triangle, right? Go back to Bukowski over here. Ascending triangle, Bukowski, right? Go in a ascending triangle setup right here, something like this right here, right? Ascending triangle background, setup. He goes. I mean, he goes pretty detailed and like this guy definitely did the quantitative analysis on all the setups possible in the marketplace, right? So this is good right here. I actually would play this one. I would play this one because it wants to go higher. The institutions are pushing it higher. I'm playing the ones that want to go higher. I don't want to play the ones that are beaten down that don't want to go higher. Those are the sinking sand or what's it called? Oh my gosh, quicksand. There you go. Right? You can play quicksand if you want. That's fine. Like Ring Central is quicksand, But this one's not a quicksand. This one's a pistol that's about to fire off. But quicksand is like, oh my, oh my, avoid the quicksand. Um, so yeah, this is MSTR, which is interesting because it's saying something else about crypto, while Coinbase I thought would say something else. So let's actually take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum and also see what's going on in this marketplace. Again, we're just navigating around different markets right now. If you guys have specific stocks you want me to look at, always feel free. But if not, I'm just gonna keep going with the list of stocks I have right here. So what do we see with Bitcoin? How about this one? Right, this is Bitcoin right here. Right, we can see several. It's definitely hugging the 200-day moving average, which is my pink line right there. Right. There's definitely volume here, but it's more hanging out below that volume right there. So it's kind of not too confident around the 200-day moving average. So that's not too good, but that's okay. You know, it's maybe there's nothing right now. I like it above the 200-day moving average, but it's just too choppy right now, above and below the 200-day moving average right here. So that's what I'm seeing. Now, MSTR, MicroStrategy, that's showing something else. That one actually looks pretty interesting. Let's swing over to Ethereum. What about Ethereum? Can we, that's Bitcoin, but what about Ethereum? What's Ethereum saying? So we look at Ethereum here, and this one also doesn't look too good, right? Not right now because it's not, it's really just like, holding this downtrend line right here, right? Now I know sometimes I'll break a rule. I'll break a rule and I'll draw like, I see that. Don't get me wrong, I see that, but my goal when I draw a trend line and try to make it as objective as possible is that the more points that I could connect to it is an official trend line. So Ethereum won't run until again we test over that trend line right there. But right now what we have is essentially like a descending broadening wedge, right? A descending broadening wedge. And that's bearish. That's typically bearish right there. We're also below the 200-day moving average, and we're also near a pretty strong liquidity pool or pocket right here, right? So it's suggestive that this area is support. So if that's the case, then yeah, like you could try here, but I don't want to take that trade. But that's what I see on Ethereum right there. Uh, Other stocks. Let's keep going. We're looking at a lot of stocks today. We looked at Reddit, PayPal. I wanted to follow up on PayPal, right? So this one's a little bit different, right? This one has been performing lately, but it's been beaten down for a long time, as you guys know. What do you see here? Anyone want to comment on what they see here? I sorry, Evan, I didn't see your comment earlier, but he said building support. But where would you guys buy PayPal here? Right? We know where if you recall, PayPal is beaten down right here, right? Right. We know it's coming up a bit. It's starting. Uptrending channel, exactly. So these are things that we want to look for, right? It's respecting the trend line, right? If we could draw a trend line on it and it's still respecting it, then yes, it's still trending up. So I like stuff like that, right? I like that it's the trend's my friend, is moving in the direction of trend. Now, if it breaks the trend, then that's where you just stop out. But that's where you have to trust yourself and stop out. Play by the rules, right? But this is a nice, definitely a nice channel. It's like uptrend channeling right there. But it's early, right? Like again, my experience with these is that even if you play these, right, the problem is not so much that it's uptrending right now. The problem is the overhead supply. So no matter like how much you like this one, you have like a ton of bag holders right there, right? You have bag holders who are trying to get out at 100, 150, 200, 250, 300. They're all trying to get out. So then that's why it took Netflix 3 years to get back to like, it's gonna take years to get back to here before it starts flying. Crazy, right? But the theory holds true. I don't even know if it's a theory. I think it's actually a fact, but you guys tell me. So it could take years. This could be, yeah, exactly. It'd be great for leaps, like very long dated leaps. You do not want to play like, oh, next week this one's going to 300. No, you might as well give me the money. If your mentality is like, oh, PayPal is running right now, next week is going to 300. Like I said, just write me a check, write me that check. Do you have a comment? I think someone went off mute.
I did.
Sure, sure.
Hey, Kay, I don't understand your theory that people are still holding when it was, your last chart, when it was at 350 going all the way down to 70 right now. Why do you think people are still holding that it needs to go way back up to that level. Um, wouldn't the assumption be that people have gotten out at a loss and it doesn't have to go back up to the prior high?
No. So the assumption right here, so the
Yeah,
part that, oh, let me highlight it. So the part that I highlighted right here,
yeah.
this is basically the bag holders, right? People who basically the people who lost right here. You see that this part right here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you could say, what you're thinking is one-sided, which is like, oh yeah, sold down, so they got out. But if there's a seller, there's a buyer. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So if there's a seller, if it's sold down, someone had to buy it, right? Like, so then basically this, again, like someone had to buy this portion to get in, and then someone sold here. It can't be this. I don't think it's the same. The probability of it being the same, probably not likely unless they had really good risk management. So the fact that we know that, price, like I'm trying to think about how do we explain this to Morris in a way that's helpful. Um,
But
base,
I think you understand what I'm saying, though.
uh, well, your question is like, how do I know there's bag holders there? I just know because okay, so let's say Morris, you got in here, right? Let's see, let me see. Okay, let's say you got in here and it went in your favor and it went up, you're green, right? And then
Yep.
so if and then went down, so you got out right here,
Right.
right? If you got out right there, someone else has to come in and buy it on the right side. If someone else got in right there, and then it went
Correct.
down, right? And that someone's still holding. You get it?
Yeah.
So therefore, people are still holding because someone had to get in here, and then they start getting out over here, but they're still holding here. But if it's like a one-sided chart, oh dang, I can't. Well, if it's a one-sided chart like this, then now there's in theory there's no bag holders because everyone's green. Does that make sense? Versus here, someone bought in here, someone bought in here, someone bought in here, someone bought in here. Sure, they sold here, right? They sold here, they sold here, but as they sold here, someone bought in there, bought in there, bought in there.
It's the same on both sides of the hill. On the upside, somebody sold and then somebody bought. Somebody sold and somebody bought,
Yeah.
or vice versa. Somebody offered more, and somebody sold it. So it's the same equation on both sides. It's just in an opposite direction. So with taking that one step further, and I'm sorry to
Yeah, no, 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 don't worry.
take
This
up
is good.
time here.
This is great.
I,
Yeah.
I don't understand where it's at a current level right now, and there really aren't any bag holders because people have already accepted the loss. And I mean, I can't understand from a mentality perspective
Yeah.
somebody who would have bought it at 300 and saying, oh well, I'm going to wait until it comes back to 300 because damn it, I'm that stubborn and I've got from 79 to 300 to go.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Yeah,
Can I jump in real quick? Is that okay?
let me ask this one question real quick.
Sure.
For Morris. Do you think there's anyone holding it at 250 today?
Very few.
But
So,
is it yes or no?
If you're going to say, is one person doing it, I'll have to say yes.
So then they probably they're hurting, right? They probably want to get out. But yeah, go ahead, V.
no, so just when you take a look at the chart from that time period when it went up, look at the volume, and when it went down, the volume is higher. So that means that potentially there's a lot more people that are bag holders because there's a lot more people that didn't sell and are holding. I mean, I think it's a volume thing, right? When you look at the period,
Let me
that difference
let,
in
here. Let me
volume.
let's hold on for a second. Like, let's say everyone in here. I'm pretty sure we held a position that lost that went into red before, right? Everyone here.
Yep.
And then when it went back green, Evan says he when it went back green, were you like, oh, I can finally get out?
It depends on what was going on with the stock. I mean, if it goes back green and it can exceed,
Yeah.
I'm not going to wait till it gets to 300 and then, at 301, I'm selling.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
but in that sense, you're essentially a bag holder, right? Now, hold on. Let's do this. This is a great question. Let's go back over here. Let's say now in theory, let's say this, let's say okay, let's say PayPal was at 300 right here, and this is currently where it's at.
mhm.
Uh, was there a bag holder at 400? Is there anyone here holding at 400?
No.
Why? So in theory, there, or is that not even theory? Like reality is there is no one holding at 400. Everyone's a winner, right? But once prices
But
go down here, now are there people holding at 300? Yes. Someone still holds at 300, yes. But here, no one holds at 400. It doesn't exist. So sky's the limit.
well, that's the same with 500. But the losers on this side are the ones that sold thinking the stock was going to go down, and you
But
had
but
others
when you
thinking it was going to go up.
but when you sell, someone else buys to get you in,
Correct?
right? So people are still holding here, right? So let's say if you sold at 300, well, someone gave you 300 and they got in.
Right?
So now that went to like 240, that person that bought you out at 300, they're now down $60 and it's against them. So they're still in.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm not going to get out. I'm not going to get out. I'm not going to get out. I'm not going to okay, now I get out. But then as I got out, someone else buys at 300. Now a new person gets in 300 and it goes against them. They're like, I'm not going to get out. I bought at 300. I'm not going to get out. I'm not going to get out. Oh man, it's 180. I'm not going to get out. I'm not going to get 100. I'm not going to get out. But if you say like over here, it's like 300. There's nobody that ever bought at 400. That buyer never existed at 400 because price never got to 400.
Correct.
So that's the difference right there. I know it's kind of hard to wrap your head around it, but if we just go through like the buying and the selling, right? Like, how can we say there's a $400 bag holder here? Because the price never got that high for someone to get in at 400. So therefore, how can the bag holding exist? But once it,
I'm having problems with your example. So it never got to 400. So you don't have any winners or losers because it never got up there.
uh,
What you do have is somebody that bought at 300 and somebody that sold at 300.
yes, someone that bought at 300 and someone that sold at 300, but someone is still in position. So for that person to unwind their position, they have to sell it down.
Which means taking a loss,
But as they sell it down, someone else is getting in.
which means taking a loss if it's going down,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But someone else
right?
is getting in.
So every time, you're taking a risk of, is the stock going to go up or is it going to go down? And that's true on the upside or the downside.
I'm
Maybe
thinking.
it's just me. I don't know.
I'm thinking over here. Um, I mean, I guess we could keep it as a theory. Maybe some things doesn't have to come to a conclusion. If a stock is down, there are bag holders. Yes. But if a stock has only been up, then there are only losers, right? It's a hard topic to wrap our heads around. I kid you not. Um,
Yeah.
let me see. I'm sorry. I'm circling back on some of these comments right here. I've become better with my emotions, though, developing frameworks. Okay, got that. I used to have mentality that I would hold the stock for a long time as it takes to make money. V says it is essentially the difference between retail and professional. The retail folks are the bag holders. When stocks gap up or down, the market makers become the bag holders. If stocks
And
go
that's a
down,
great point right there, because if you've got an institution, if you've got a professional, which we've said over and over again, they're the ones that move the market.
yeah.
They're typically not going to be a bag holder from 300 down to
Oh yeah,
70.
yeah. No, not them. But this is robbery, right? So okay. So the part that I highlighted right here, like someone lost here, right?
Hmm.
And they're gonna sell lower, and maybe yeah, they absorb that cost for sure. That could be a scenario too. They could completely absorb that loss. But for them to sell out, someone has to replace their position and then take on that loss,
Correct.
right? So then that other person, that's another bag holder. It's a new bag holder. All right, let's actually dissect this.
So, keep going with your example,
Okay, okay.
because you've now got bag holders that
So
take it all the way down
okay, so
in increments to the bottom.
yeah,
So the last bag holder doesn't go from 300 to 70. It might go from 90 to 70.
yeah.
So,
But there's
so
still there's
if,
still a bag there's still a bag holding mechanic, meaning like
correct.
the next bag holder, the next bag holder, and the next bag holder. So I was going to explain that. So let's say this first arrow right here. Let's say you bought it green here, right? and then it went against you, and so you sold here, right? So this right side, that's another buyer that came in on the right side, right? Now that buyer is holding it and it goes against them, and so that buyer decides to get out here, right? But
Hmm.
as they got out here, then another buyer came here in here, right? And so that buyer, it went against that this new buyer right here. So then that buyer
Hmm.
decides to get out here, and then now to get out, that other someone has to buy in. So then you constantly have a bag holder on every side, right? Then this guy gets out right here. Then to get out, another guy or girl has to get in and buy. And then that guy's like, oh man, it's going against me, right? And yeah, it's selling down every time, but then it's always bringing in a new bag holder. You get it? It's always bringing in a new bag holder.
So the reason I brought up the question is because you had said the last bag holder, you're not interested in this trade because the last bag holder has to wait till it gets up to 300. And my
Not
point
not
is,
300, but like whatever. That's the assumption that there's a 300 bag holder, right? It could be any price. But
hmm,
the concept is on the right side, there's always a new bag holder coming in a downtrend. Now let's flip this, okay? Let's do this side. Let's do a pure upside, okay?
hmm,
So in a pure upside now, let's say you got in here, right? And for you to get out, well, let's just say you got out right here. Let's just keep it simple. Uh,
okay,
let's put that on the right side. So let's say you got in here, you got out here, right? So because you got out there, then now there's a new bag holder that comes in here. But hey, that's a positive bag holder, right? Because now this bag holder got in and they want to get out, and so a new buyer comes in right here. Essentially, they're like everyone's a like. Can you say everyone's a winner? Like majority are winning on this side of the market, right? Because again, that person gets out and then it goes up again, and then that person decides to get out on the left for another buyer to come in and buy right here. You see what I mean? So it's full of winners on this side, and like even if you sell, the buyers just keep coming in. And there's like there's what I'm trying to say is that there's no one on this side trying to like get out because they're like, oh, it's against me. See the difference between this side and then we went over to this side? We just went through the buying and selling. Like,
correct.
right? I just showed you like, okay, we could do one more time. Look, you get in right here, then you get out right here, but as you get out right here, a new guy comes in here and he benefits, right? And it goes
Okay,
up.
so
Huh?
stop right there
Sure.
because we need to go by this incrementally
Yep, yep,
because I understand from a chart perspective of climbing a mountain and then going down a mountain. But let's look at each of the different bag holders.
yep.
You know, Bag holder number one gets in at arrow A,
Okay.
thinking the stock's going to go up.
Yep,
Obviously, you buy because you think it's going to go up.
yep,
You sell at what you think is the top. Somebody else comes in and goes, "That's not the top, that's the bottom."
yep.
They buy.
Yep. So now you have a new that person to carry the baton forward, right? Yep. Keep going.
You've got a new bag holder.
Yep. Positive bag
So,
holder.
so using the same terminology, person A lost because the stock went up. Person B bought at the new floor and took it up to the next level. Then it went higher, so that person lost because they didn't keep holding. New bag holder came in, it went higher. So
Yep.
now if you go to the other side,
Okay.
you've got the same number of bag holders and bag sellers, just to use your terminology. And the point I have is that the very last, in theory, bag holder, and let's say we're talking, $20 swings, the last bag holder bought at 90, sold at 70, and you've got a new no, I'm sorry. The last bag holder is holding at 70 and it's now up to 79. Now, if the technicals are right, if the basic or the fundamentals are right, and we're thinking now it's at 80, 79 points, and thinking it's going to go up, then it would be a good deal. Why isn't that of interest to you? Why do you think you need to go all the way up to the top at 300? That's really my fundamental question.
Because you are clearing overhead supply. You basically eclipse all these players here, and they're non-existent. Like everyone is in theory essentially a green bag holder now because you've eclipsed the price. But here like you might think it's, look, this is where I know, like you think it's a deal here, right? But as it's going up, you have guys at every level trying to get out from this prior run here, because you can't say that they all got out in time and they exited. I'm because I asked you earlier, do you think there's someone that's holding at 300? And you say a few, possibly yes, right? And so because that player still exists and that pain point still exists, it adds as overhead supply pressure for a stock that's trying to recover. And so when we look at it, right, we look at, like, Facebook, or not, Netflix, it dropped really quickly, but it took years for it to recover, and it'll probably go really quick. I think Nvidia is probably a great example where a stock would take years to recover, but then, like, it'll catapult very quickly once it eclipses all bag holders, if that makes sense. So, like, right here. So this would be an example right here. This is a great example. Um, yeah, this is super. This is a super example. Okay, all right. So I'll show you. So you see that this is the eclipse point, right? Why is it that it runs a lot quicker after it eclipses this period right here? It went through, like, yeah, you could say recession and all that, but it had to work its way up to eclipse it, and then, yeah, build up a little bit more, but it really ran after that.
I think we're at least, as I'm hearing it, we're talking about what's driving what? Is the stock price going up creating the bag holders, or is the bag holder creating the stock going up or down for that matter? It's something I'm going to want to look into a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I understand what you're trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just think if you're looking at the increment, it's not that way. So I don't know if this is, market knowledge, gleaned over time, but the reason that you have past the dip, above the blue line that you just drew,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
more people isn't because you don't have any more bag holders. It's that the price has been going up and people want to get in. So it's basic supply and demand.
I mean, no one never said that wasn't the case either. That's also the case. But it's the kicker, right? The extra tailwind that no more overhead supply really exists, because there's no painful player holding at 300. That painful player holding at 300 is now a happy holder, right? And because they're happy, they're not gonna sell out. Does that kind of make sense? Like, oh my gosh, come on, give me that. Like, they are now, what's the legal word?
Whole.
Huh? Yeah,
They're now whole.
yeah, they are now whole. Yes, thank you, thank you. They are now whole, right? So look at Facebook right here. I mean, again, it's up to you to believe it or not. It's not, no pressure for me to tell you, but this is actually really, again, this is not. I didn't come up with this theory, by the way. This is actually, like, the $100 million players, actual theory. This is the theory of, like, the most professional players in the game. So,
Okay.
yeah, huh?
And that's why I'm here to learn. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's not my concept, but I'm also a learner from the Grandmasters, right? So this is actually a Grandmaster concept, and I would probably recommend we search, let's see, stock theory, hold on, theory clearing overhead supply resistance. There's essentially no more resistance, and we can actually type this into, like, a ChatGPT system as well. Here, give me 1 second. Let me pull up to the side over here. Let's bring in some modern intelligence over here. How about that? Give me 1 second. Okay, we'll bring in some modern intelligence for you folks. All right. So, okay, modern intelligence right here. All right. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Sorry. That's personal stuff. But okay, let's see. Because I use this for, like, anything, everything. When we clear, so a key concept in technical analysis, clearing overhead supply resistance, is a stock market theory that suggests that a stock's price must overcome or clear previous resistance levels created by overhead supply before it can continue upwards momentum. Overhead supply resistance refers to the price level where there is significant selling pressure from investors who previously bought the stock at that price or higher. This creates resistance zone, making it difficult for the stock to break through. The theory. The theory states that when a stock rises to a level where there is significant overhead supply, sellers become more motivated to sell, increasing selling pressure. This pressure must be overcome before the stock can continue its upward trend. So key points is resistance level, supply and demand imbalances, price breakout, confirmation, trading strategies, buying on the breakout, selling on the failure. It doesn't actually explain. I could ask it to explain it, but man, I really wanted to get like a solid answer. It's a theory, Goose says. Yeah, essentially it's a theory. Uh, but it's from my experience in marketplace, I think it's a pretty
Mhm.
solid theory. Um, my brain is no brain, he says. I think it's a pretty solid theory, just because like I don't know, I feel I definitely feel much safer when there is no when it's at all-time highs. Like I just noticed stocks perform way better when it's clear to all prior resistance. Um,
Well, take a look at the chart you have right now. The
mhm.
angle of increase is about the same below and after going.
Yeah,
So it cleared all past bag holders, and it's not meteor. It's not going up faster. It's going up at the same rate.
yeah, yeah. I mean, this one could also be a special case. It is Facebook, but that I mean, again, just a theory, I guess you could say. Now that we got confirmation, you're right. The angle is pretty much the same, but
Yeah.
it, I mean,
I just find the whole concept real interesting, and I'm not, doubting that through historical studies that's what's been found. I just really find it interesting that that concept exists.
yeah, man, I'm trying to. It is one of my favorite concepts, by the way, and like that's why I would double click with you, and like I want to think it through too. Like,
Hmm.
I want to understand like what is like the mechanics of all that. Let me see. Uh, Sorry, just looking at pop up. Yeah, so I really want to know myself too. Like to me in my head, the logic makes sense. Like you don't have any more resistant holders that will come against you. But at the same time, if that resistant holder decides to sell as price swings up, well then it's also a proving mechanic that another willing buyer is willing to pay higher, right? Because on the left, okay, let's go back. On the left side here, you have painful holders who are like, I need to get out. I need to get liquid, right? I need to get out at 250. But once it gets over here, it's like, even though like, oh, I'm up a lot, I want to get out. You have a willing buyer that's willing to come in. Versus like over here, if it keeps going down, that next willing buyer that comes in, they become the next bag holder, and they're like, oh, it's against me. Now I got to get out. So I guess it's just a baton of like if it's an uphill, you have like positive bag holders, right, or happy bag holders, and if it's downhill, you essentially have negative sentiment or negative or unhappy bag holders. And the theory is because you have that negative bag holders, the unhappy one, they're likely to become headwind selling pressure as the stock is trying to recover. So I think that's my interpretation of the theory, right? Like there's more happiness above this line in theory, but I guess at the end of the day it is a theory. Hopefully
Yeah.
that yeah hopefully that helps, but those are definitely the plays that I like. um and let me look at Apple actually, because Apple had a similar scenario over here too, if I recall. But Apple was hitting all-time highs, but it's kind of stalling right now. This is Apple. See where that player came. I'm looking at where that player came in previously, because there was a very gymongous player that came in. That gymongous player came in right here, basically that day right there. So that player came in at the 200 mark, right? This player was huge, if I recall. Because like that day, like Apple went up like billions of dollars. It was at 200. See, so that player, like you tell me. I mean, that player came in at right at the 200 right there, and that was a big player. Like it was one of the, I think I have it. Yeah, basically that day was like incredible because that was like a full on candle. Like it was a full green candle on a like it was this day right here, right there. I remember that day because I was like, that's like a spit your coffee out moment right there. You're just like, wow, like let's see, 172 million. Let's see, 172 million times at the time 200, right? So 172 million times about two. Let's do 205, whatever. How much money is that? That would be about. Oh, it didn't say. It's too high. I mean, it was just billions of dollars. Oh, I should put times. It is. I don't have the calculation. I can't do the math. Well, just know that it was a lot of money, right? So um, it's also where the big player is likely to come in, right? Like if you know the spots where the big player comes in, that's also alpha right there. Wait, hold on. Wait, what was that? Not 200? It was at the 200. Yeah, it was 200. Yeah, and then that player later came back, as I suspect, came back and held this support right here, back at the 200. Like that was like probably like Saudi money or something. That was not small money at all. That was incredibly like, whoa. Um, that launched Apple up, so they definitely think Apple's going higher. It also tells me like because they're willing to bet so much money, it also tells me that I think this market's going higher too. That was like actually one of my signals, by the way. Signals to say that I think the market's going higher. Edward says, I guess psychologically people have greater fear of loss than desire for gain. I think it might be like a sentiment theory as well, Edward. Like, if there's red, if there's bag holder, then I think it's safe to assume that there's negative sentiment, which makes sense because like you ever bought a stock and it went against you and you're like, oh, I've been bag holding this for like a year, and then finally it makes it back. You're just like, you know what? That was so painful. I just want to get out. I've seen that a lot with people. So now on the flip side, if you bought a stock and it was green, you're just like happy, happy, happy. And then you're like, oh, it's so much, it went up so much. I'm gonna sell it to the next guy. I'm gonna take my gains. The next guy comes in, it goes up, and that guy's like happy, happy, happy. And they're like, oh, you know what, so much, I'm gonna sell it to the next guy, right? Next guy buys it, oh, it goes up again, happy, happy, happy. So on an upswing, there's a lot more happy sentiment than on like, a downswing, right? They're feeling like, oh, I need to get out. So I don't know. You, I'll leave it with that, guys. Maybe it remains a theory then, but I certainly like that theory, and I'll play on that theory too. It's fantastic. All right, guys. Great discussion. I enjoy that. Back and forth, Morris. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat at all. Hopefully it was helpful for you guys. But it is 12 o'clock. I do plan to cook some food now. So, folks, any last questions before I submit the report later tonight? I'm feeling like it's just like we're back to where we left off last week. I'd be excited to see if markets could make a nice leg up this week. That's what I'm seeing so far. You're welcome, V. All right, folks. If no more other questions, I guess this is farewell until next week. We will catch up as usual. Gotta keep practicing. Okay, it was very helpful discussion. Thanks. Hey, you're welcome, Morris. Anytime. You're welcome, everyone. Great discussions. I would challenge you guys to think more about the overhead supply thing, and let's just tell me what you learned next week.